Hello, my name is Victor Daniel Vieira Mier, and this is my final presentation of energy and transformation. So the problem I was studying is the effect of magnetism in the physical properties of a liquid. The problem or the research problem was, can the physical properties of a liquid body be affected by exposure to magnetism provoked by a magnet? And if so, which properties are affected? So the objectives was to prepare the jars with water, milk, and alcohol, repeat the experiment, magnetizing each liquid, and determine the properties that change. My hypothesis, after doing a little bit of research, is if a liquid is exposed to a certain level of magnetism, then its physical properties will be affected because of the alteration in the organization of the electrons. The justification for doing this experiment is learning about the scientific method and be able to identify variables in daily life. Learn about research techniques, and also for my peers, they will find this experiment useful because magnetized water is not only something for my physics project, but it's also something that helps for the health of people. So this might actually help them. Introducing this experiment, magnetized water is water that has been exposed to a magnetic field coming from permanent magnets. I intend to solve the question of the physical properties that change, and I will develop the scientific method in order to solve this experiment. So for this experiment, I need two magnets or three magnets in order to magnetize the liquids. There are circular magnets and permanent magnets, as I told you. I'm going to need 3 glasses, sorry, and I'm going to need water, and the other liquids will be milk and alcohol. The variables for this experiment are the change in physical properties, which is the dependent variables, and also the level of magnetism, which is the independent variable. So the steps I followed, or the methodology, is first of all, measure the physical properties of the liquids before magnetization, then magnetizing them for 1 hour, measuring the physical properties again, and then compare both measurements to determine if there is change. So here is what I used and how I basically measured the physical properties. Here are my results. I decided to use a chart in order to present them. And we can see the changes in the boiling point, the mass, the density, and the viscosity in all of them. Just in the mass of the alcohol and the density, I had a little bit of a problem also in the boiling point, and I will explain this problem later. So analyzing the data, the hypothesis was confirmed. The magnetization of the liquids affects their physical properties of them. And in general, magnetization apparently equals more dense and more viscous liquids. To conclude this experiment, I repeat, the hypothesis was correct, and I can improve it by using a bigger magnet. And experimentation with everyday stuff is very interesting because you can identify the variables and experiment with anything you want. This experiment was limited by 2 things. First of all, the alcohol situation that I mentioned is that when I tried to measure, for example, the boiling point, I put it on the stove and I turned the stove on to see when it started to boil, but this never happened. It just burst into flames, and it was very scary, and also it didn't allow me to measure properly. And also there's no way to measure magnetization of the liquid, so this is a little bit inaccurate of my experiment. The importance of the scientific method for me is that it allows the experiment to be replicated. It organizes the steps and standardizes the experiment so other people can do it all around the world. And there is a clear way of showing the relation between both variables. I learned from this activity that most daily things can be divided, as I told you, in independent and dependent variables, which allows experimentation. And experimentation, not only does it stimulate your creativity, because after I did this, I started to question more things about my environment. It also explains them, it explains the environment, which is very good. Here are my sources and the link to my first YouTube video and this is the second video. So thank you very much.